See that? Loyal like a dog. That's what you'll always get with Doug Howlett. In fact, Doug, Tommy mightn't recognise you. If you want to turn around and show him your back, because he's used to chasing that, maybe you'd recognise that a bit more, Tommy, wouldn't you clown?
Oh man, it's chaos. Literally, the dog is stealing runners. It's already done a dump on the carpet.
Oh, jeez, no. How old's the dog?
10 weeks or whatever else. So, new pup along with a very old dog. So, absolute chaos. Anyway,
on top of the two kids.
I know. They're so happy though. But literally, I think he bit Jamie's leg. Toad. It's madness.
Tommy, are you trying to find ways to make your life harder, man? Do you know what I mean?
Donncha, do you know you have a wife? I have a wife. Let's not get into this because I'm going to get in trouble. Right. Okay.
I hear you. Jenny, you want a dog? We'll get a dog.
I'll send you one quick. Right. Here we go. Let's get cracking. You're very welcome along to episode 4 of the Offload. We're getting very close to the big matches now. The internationals are coming up very close. It is time for our first guest with Munster against the All Blacks tomorrow. Then, of course, Ireland against the All Blacks next Friday. We are delighted to be able to say that Doug Howlett, the All Black and Munster legend, is going to be joining us. Dunners, fair play to you. You pulled out the black book. You got Doug on board. Can't wait to talk to him.
No better boy, and I'm looking forward to catching up to him because do you know what, Tommy? I could do with chatting to someone. I have had a bad week, fella. It's been a tough week around Munster, and I know you might laugh at me, but it gets in on you a little bit. You get a little bit down when Munster isn't going as well as you'd like.
Well, there's chaos going on in Munster. There's absolute chaos. I was just talking to you about it a minute ago in our house. We went and we're on midterm. We're on our holidays. It's Halloween. We think, let's all enjoy the pumpkins and skeletons outside. We've got a new pup. And it's absolutely madness. We don't even have a name for it. It's just called Pup. And it is a pup. I swear, if I've literally had to mute the microphone. He's downstairs yelping away. With the older dog ain't too happy with him. But
oh no, of course.
Anyway.
Well, the older dog. No, what's the older dog? What's the older dog's name?
And she's the best. Bonnie's my favorite. She's my favorite of the children.
Bonnie knows what you're doing there, fella. You know what I mean? You've just basically brought in an insurance policy for when Bonnie. You know what I mean? That's the Marley and me moment.
Oh, Marley and me. I remember, did I go see that with you and Tomás O'Leary?
Do you
and
remember
Tomás cried the whole way through it.
Can I paint this picture for you? So we're all in the cinema. There was a time, cinema on Thursday nights before an international. You'd be delighted if Tommy was put in charge of booking it because to be fair to you, you not only paid for the ticket, but you put it behind the pick and mix, much to Mike Ross's delight,
Absolutely.
Who lit up. As opposed to the sensible Brian O'Driscoll who would give you your ticket and just say, sort out your own stuff.
He'd sort himself out though.
He probably would.
Tomás, remember that he had a dog similar age to Marley and me and he bawled his eyes crying the whole time.
Oh, so we were in the cinema. Everyone's kind of, that a typical group of lads, that awkward moment when it gets to the bit where Marley is about to head on. And everyone starts kind of, making small talk. What time's training tomorrow? What are you doing off the 5-man line out? And then people are texting. And all you hear in the corner is... and you're there, what's going on there? There's Tomás O'Leary in the corner going, I have a 14-year-old Labrador at home. Do you know what he did, Tommy? The following Sunday, he drove home. After the match, he drove home to bring the dog for a walk and then came back up into camp.
Good on you, Tomás. Well, listen, now with my little Bonnie, I actually have not watched Marley and Me since that day because it's too sad. Yeah, I dread the day. But anyway, we have a new pup, absolute madness. So cue more stories for that in the next while. Exactly. Yeah. Let's move to chaos a bit closer to your home. Yeah. Graham Roundtree has left mutual agreement with Munster Rugby. Neither of us know what's going on here. There's a lot of speculation out there. first of all, listen, we've seen Quinny, we've seen all the boys out there talking about it. Big shock, Dunners.
It
What do
was
you
a big
think?
shock, I'll be honest with you. And you're right, it's speculation by all of us that if you know the crack, if you're not in the bubble, if you're not on the bus, you don't know. But I was taken back by it, like you're saying, mutual agreement, and just how rapid it was. Like you would think you'd kind of work it out. I'll be honest with you, Tommy. I don't like saying it, but I watched Saturday, and my little girl Robin said to me at halftime, "Can you stop watching the match, Dad? Because you're going to be cross for the rest of the evening." And like, I'll be honest with you, that performance for a team that had been underperforming, it just was nowhere near. Like, I know no one's talking about that, but just the error rate, just something's been amiss with that team.
But hold on a second, Dunners. My daughter would have said the same, me watching Ulster, except she knows I'm going to be in bad mood normally watching Ulster. And Ulster were 19-0 up. They, of course, lost 21-19 to Cardiff. Second half, terrible. But listen, Graham Rowntree, Munster won the league 2 years ago. They finished top of the league last year and lost to Glasgow in the semi-final at Thomond Park, which was a huge shock at the time. They've had a bad start in each of those 3 seasons. There's more to this than just a couple of bad games. There has 100%. To be more to this.
Yeah, of course. And I think we'll find that out in time, Tommy. And I'll be honest with you, you know the type of relationships that we probably have with playing pool and stuff like that. And you could make calls, but I personally would find that kind of nearly like ambulance chasing. You know what I mean? I'm actually just shocked by this, decision and that it's come about. But I worry in ways is rugby getting a little bit like soccer when we saw Dan McFarlane in Ulster last year pulling the trigger within it. But I do think we have to kind of nearly respect that both of them have said that, you know what I mean, it is the right time for both of them. There was mentions of families and stuff like that. So you don't want to speculate too much. But
do you think that Roundtree had enough? Do you think it was the Munster hierarchy made this decision? Do you think it was the IRFU? Do you think it was Roundtree? I mean, listen, if you're Graham Roundtree, right, you've won the league 2 years ago. You're playing great rugby last season to finish top of the league. But to lose players, like I'll read out the list of players here, which you know only too well. To lose Earls, Conway, Zebo, for them all to retire. Carberry to leave. Frisch to leave. Ben Healy to leave. Fekatoa to leave. Snyman to leave. If you're Graham Roundtree, you're bleeding all these players, but being told, we want you still to be competitive. We want you to compete with the Leinsters. We just saw that record attendance in Croke Park. Like, realistically, for Graham Roundtree, how it feels like he must have felt like, I'm trying to compete with this team with 2 hands tied behind my back.
100% it. He's taken on, you know what I mean? He's got a watering gun at a pistol fight. He really does. And I think you've nailed it, Tommy. Like, that is, like, just even on a health and safety side of it, he's gone over to take on double World Cup winning front 5 in the Sharks.
In South Africa,
with 2 academy young fellas on the bench. You know what I mean?
So how can you be upset with him in that performance? No, yes, of course, they didn't play to the level you want.
Believe me,
but
I'm no bit upset with Graham Rowntree. In fact, I don't think it's been said enough. As a Munster man, I'm mainly a Munster supporter, I think Rowntree will be remembered with the likes of Tommy Kiernan, who coached the 1978 team, Gareth Fitzgerald, who coached that 92 team that beat Australia, and Declan Kidney, that won that European Cup with that group, for what he did in his time in Munster Rugby. That URC win in 2023 was incredible. I don't think any other Munster team could have done it. To go on the road like they did, not only in South Africa, to come to the Aviva, bop Leinster, then go on the road again and lift the cup. He will always be remembered so fondly by Munster supporters. He has a special place in Munster's heart. And it must be said, Tommy, as someone that loves Munster Rugby, it's so grateful to him.
But how gutted are you?
Yeah, I'm disappointed more so for him because he's a good man.
But his stock is high. He'll bounce into another job, no problem.
Yeah, but if I'm being honest, Tommy, can I tell the truth? All I've heard under the Graham Rowntree regime is complaints. We train really hard. It's so tough. Put away your violins. You know what I mean? Like, what? Everyone works hard. Like all the talk now is of Felix Jones. If you think Graham Rowntree works hard, wait till you see Felix Jones. Yeah. Nobody works harder.
Like, so, I bet you when we're talking to Doug Howlett later on, like he came into the squad whenever you had the likes of you, Raj, Paulie. Like nobody would have worked anybody harder than that squad. Like that's what you're expected to do in Munster. And in my view, that's where maybe other teams and other provinces aren't able to compete with Munster, because that's a given. And that's the point of difference that makes them so good. So if the players are kicking up a fuss about that.
So can I go back to it, because that's a key point for me. What got me down on Saturday watching that game? All week, right? You're playing against the Sharks. Who are you talking about? Grant Williams, okay? Number 9. All day when he runs, we keep putting him on the ground. Hit on suspicion. You're running across the pitch. You put him on the ground. Within 43 seconds, he carved us apart. You know what I mean? Like, have some loyalty to the weak. You know what I mean? Show you care. There's the only place you can show you care, in your performance there. Like there was other moments in that. Mike Haley goes to take the first kick and it's knocked out of his hands. It's Grant Williams' kick, who we would have talked about early in the week. The escort is shocking. These are all... It doesn't take hard work to work around the corner. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take talent to work around the corner. It doesn't take talent to run hard back and kick.
I think that like those nitpicky things, if that's the reason that Roundtree left, I'd have big question marks. My one question here for you, right, and my one think of a play on this is that we want to keep Irish homegrown players and coaches in Ireland. Felix Jones, I don't know the current situation with him, but he's obviously left the English camp. Maybe there's a chance for him to come back into the Irish setup, and the only place that is really available, like Richie Murphy, an Irish coach, he's into Ulster. Connacht are in a fairly settled place. Leinster in a fairly settled place. I would have thought Munster in a fairly settled place. But maybe they thought, if we really want to bring Felix back, he has to go to Munster, and we got to make the call now. But that's like, you're going to have to pay Roundtree off. They're going to have to, I mean, Felix isn't going to be cheap. Like, do you think it's an IRFU decision?
Yeah, well, it's all an RFU decision, but it's probably been the sum of all those parts that you mentioned there. Like Graham Rowntree basically won a URC and lost all his assets. Normally you would double down. You'd say, okay, now you're starting to get success. How can we help you? Instead, he's been told to actually cut the budget of some of their top players. Like everyone goes on about the senior players not being happy. No senior player is happy when they're cutting his wages. You know that. So Tommy, it's one that 100% the RFU probably needs to get more involved. Like, we need all the provinces to be strong, and right now we have one superpower and we've all the rest. Just honestly, I'm not just saying it, starving to save a life. You know what I mean? Like fighting the daylight every day with kids. You know, so I just think everyone goes on about Felix, but for me, he's an incredible guy. I question, is he right though, in terms of if the problem is a little bit, like we don't know what it is, but all I've ever heard is work harder. No one works harder than Felix. I actually have a different take on it. I think if you're trying to get a beat out of this team, you actually have to go down to the foundation rock of Munster Rugby, and you need Declan Kidney back involved. I know you're going to laugh, but don't, man. I'm telling you, he's a Grand Slam winner, he's a European Cup winner, and nobody knows Munster Rugby better than that man. And it's sad to say it, that we might have to go all the way back to there, but I promise you, if you put him in that environment, he will get a beat out of those players. His emotional intelligence is through the roof. His love for Munster Rugby is through the roof. And there's a guy, if he's getting fucked over by the RFU, will kick down the door and tell him. So wow. And Tommy, the way it's going, look at rugby. Who are gone? London Irish. He knows how to deal with a budget. He knows how to deal with players in those moments. I just think there's an ace up our sleeves. It's under our nose. We all might laugh and think of the glory days. But I'm telling you, I've been around him. He'd also walk into an environment where he helped create guys like Mike Prendergast, Dennis Leamy, Mossy Lowell, or Andy
But really,
Curran.
does he want to be back at that level again? Who knows? Interesting though, interesting. And at least Munster do have options out there. But personally, from my point of view, we've both played under Wig, under Graham Rowntree. Legend of a bloke.
Gentleman.
I got on great with him. Gentleman, as you say, but got the best out of you. And a tough man as well, who demanded really, really high performance. So we will see. We'll address this again. I definitely think it's worth talking about the other provinces and Leinster at some stage and how they keep up or what they're going to have to do from an Irish point of view. But it's time to get our first guest on. This is exciting, isn't it?
Yes, let's do it, huh? Okay, time for our first guest. He is one of Munster Rugby's favourite sons. He's the All Blacks record try scorer. He is an amazing player, but he's an even better person. We are delighted to welcome to the Offload, Doug Howlett, you beauty!
Good on you, Don. It's great to be here. Hi, Tommy. And only
Doug.
just hanging on to that All Black record at the moment, Donis. There's a couple of blazers coming after me, but for now, I'm hanging on to it.
The only record we're interested in, Doug, because we were chatting about it during one of the podcasts previously, is your athletics record. Because I know Charles, your little boy, is breathing down your neck.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're having some wonderful time on the track together, racing and training. But as you know, as coach and as dad, I get to dictate how long the race is. You know, it started off around 400 meters, down to 200. I'm down to about 20 meters.
There you go.
And I get to say go. So
hold on a second. Can we clear this up, Doug? Donncha told us last week that you're still the record holder for the 100 metres or in and around that, but your son nearly broke your record.
Yeah, well, that was it was a relay. It was a 4x1 100-metre relay, actually, that he was gunning after, which was an Auckland title. I never got to hold a national title of my own, but I won titles, but I never set a record. So it was a 4x1 100 metres where I held the record, and it was actually a pal of mine, you may know, Leslie Vinacolo was in the team with me, another chap, Joe Nafahu. So we had a good sort of athletic running team, and we sort of were, I think, 43-4 or something. But the boys came in at 43-5. You know, so their team just and look, I was the first person to commiserate with them. Unlucky lads. Better luck next time.
Brilliant. Love it. And there's nothing better than keeping that son in his place, particularly when you're his coach as well. Listen, we've bounced into the podcast here as well. We've cleared that up. Very nice to do. But can we also clear up the gobshite that Donncha O'Callaghan is? Because you've logged on an hour earlier than he told us we're meant to. He worked with you, played alongside you in Munster. Things haven't changed. You should have known it.
Oh, look, they all work out in the end, Tommy. You know, I think that's the fantastic thing, and we have fun along the way. There's nothing surer. But, you know, to be fair with Donna's this time, it was the daylight savings that snagged us. So
there we go. See that, Tommy? See that? Loyal like a dog. That's what you'll always get with Doug Howlett. In fact, Doug, Tommy mightn't recognise you. If you want to turn around and show him your back, because he's used to chasing that, maybe you'd recognise that a bit more, Tommy, wouldn't you clown?
Listen, those days are gone, Dunners, but things haven't changed with you, mate. Fair play.
Not at all.
Fair play.
Doug, we all miss you fierce. It is great that you're back home around your friends and your family, but I've never seen a person to come and buy into a community more than you did with Munster, and just the legacy you not only left with our playing pool, but around Cork in general. How's the readjust back home going?
Oh, look, this took its time. You know, I think, you know, we raised our family in Ireland. You know, our 5 kids were all Irish. They were all Irish speaking, went to school. All they wanted to do was play for Munster, you know. So it took a little bit of time readjusting. And I guess the one thing you'll all know is that the one thing we couldn't replace was our family, aging grandparents, uncles, aunties, cousins, all these types of things. So thankfully they've come back into that environment. The beautiful Irish accents that they had were kicked out of them within 2 or 3 weeks, unfortunately.
No way.
But, the memories remain, and the times that we spent in Ireland together will stay with us forever, and all of them pleasant, in particular, our time with Munster, but in the greater environment. My wife has some of her best friends there. The children still keep in touch with their schoolmates. So overall, a wonderful experience, and one that we look back on with unbelievable memories.
I always think of you when the Cork hurlers go out, though. Like this year was disappointing against Clare, but you'd know an awful lot of those lads as well, Doug, after spending time with them and your time in that environment.
And it was just another one of the unbelievable opportunities that presented itself, for my time in Munster. Connecting, being in that environment, having a love of a new sport, and then being asked and welcomed into the environment was, really, really special. And it's a game that's it's grown on me. I didn't grow up with it, obviously, but we still have the Hurleys here, and we puck around in the backyard to the amazement of all the neighbours. And the slitters are peppered all over the neighbour's yard. But look, it's again just another fantastic memory of ours.
Well, can we go back to the start, Doug? Because listen, you were the record All Blacks try scorer. You arrived in Cork in December back in 2007. Probably not the best time to come to Ireland. Weather-wise. Tell us, what were your memories when you first came? And it was yourself, Monique, and I think your son Charles, he was 6 months old at that stage. Yeah. How long was it before Monique said, "Can we get out of here, please"?
Oh, no, look, I think it actually started before we even arrived in Ireland. I think we shared a plane from, I think it was Paris over to Cork, and there were a few Cork folk on the flight that recognised us and started the welcome even before we arrived, which was unbelievable. Such a welcoming bunch. And then Donncha, Brian Murphy, who was at the airport for us, and made that transition as we stepped into Cork Airport, and straight into the thick of winter, which we were kind of prepared for. But it took some adjusting, especially around that Christmas time, being away in a new environment with a newborn, in effect, 6-month-old Charles. But again, what made it was the friendships. Obviously, there were the Kiwi bunch that were involved with us here. There was Rua, Lafemi, and Jeremy that were here. So immediately we had a connection. But beyond that, it was the welcoming phone calls from the Donners, the Rog, the Frankie Sheehan, playing pranks on you straight away, calling up to be this, that, and the other.
Can we get into that story? Because Donncha always told me this story about Frankie impersonating a Munster supporter and catching you out.
Yeah. Look, there were multiple attempts, which were more often foiled. I think one of the more notable ones was a local Corkman with a hair product that wanted to sponsor somebody with curly hair. So I foiled that one pretty quickly. But the one that did manage to get through was the chap that came through trying to help me install my Sky. So obviously it was a need as soon as we arrived that we wanted to get into some television and connect and see what's going on with all the sporting environment. But I think through Frankie and I'm not just blaming Frankie. I think there was a crew behind them having a chuckle here for would have been multiple weeks at my expense. But
go on, Donners. Tell us the story.
No, it's not even limited to you, Doug, because you know it now, even on the WhatsApp group. If someone is looking for something, this person's number still gets used as the contact. So, like, if someone's looking, does anyone know someone in here? They'll say, give this guy a call, and it's the same number as it's been since Doug arrived. It's all the same gags, it's all the same jokes, but I'll be honest, they're harmless, but they kind of break down borders, Doug, a little bit in terms of just integrating you into the fun and crack.
Oh, absolutely, and that's being part of a sports team, isn't it? You think, yeah, it's all fun and games, poking fun at everyone else, but you also you realise when you've been had, and I think there's nothing you can do but chuckle and say, "Well done, lads. Okay, look out." Okay.
I'm glad you managed to get all the
favourite
channels
one, Tommy, that you'll enjoy. It involved Doug, but not really. It was Brian Kearney impersonating to be Doug, ringing Paul O'Connell's agent to find out what money Paulie was on from a certain sponsor, and he very nearly got it out of him. If we weren't down the back of the bus with O'Connell going crazy. So they were the kind of just lads with time to kill, up to not a whole lot of good.
As you can see, it was a spider's web. It was complex. There were multiple gags going on all at once, that started off with me, but, everyone was involved.
I mean, you can see why you fitted so well into it, Doug, though, because, you're a bit of a character as well, but it was a special environment in Munster back then.
Oh, yeah, that certainly was. And I think, the characters involved, but also the serious side that they had, so sort of come game time, so come training time, there was an expectation, there was an accountability to each other that, we turn up, we train hard and we perform, and I felt that even, as an All Black coming into this environment, that I had to step up, I had to perform. It was like being that 18-year-old kid again, turning up into an environment where I had to prove myself all over again. And, there were some clear memories of mine where I turn up, I could do all the running, all the bits and pieces, and kicking was never a strong point of mine, and I sort of skied a few at training. And then the boys just say, "Oh, geez, lads, another pig in the bag we've got here," So it just kept you on their toes and made you want to be part of the team and perform for this environment because, they were doing just the same.
But not only that as well, Doug, you came in and I think we were more like sponges for the knowledge of the game you had. I'll be honest, if I'm being truthful, I think we missed the window under Christian Cullen. I remember when he came in first, he was so far ahead of us that we actually didn't. He was playing a different game. I'll never forget, he'd pass the ball and he'd run upfield. And we honestly, I'm not joking, we'd all start laughing. We were there like, he's offside and he doesn't even know it. And
I don't know if Donncha's trying to tell you here, Doug, that you were a bit more on their level.
Yeah. Well, I had 5 years with Christian and then he broke the ice for me.
That's it. But what I'm trying to say is there was an acceptance that, when you said it, and I for me even personally, it was just all the stuff even around the game, how you looked after your body, how diligent you were, even changing our mindset when it came to goal setting. You moved us on some amount.
Yeah, and look, I think even coming into the environment, and I pick on Frankie again because he was someone that just kept probing. Right, Doug, what are the drills that you did in the All Blacks? And we sort of line up a few drills, the catch and pass, passing, all these types of things. And we'll do that for a few minutes. And you go, right, Doug, so tell us what they really did. You just didn't believe that what we did was the same as exactly what you were doing, but we just kept doing it time after time, repeated it, with no errors, and when we slowly got faster, so it was the same drills, just executed, quickly and, accurately.
And I think that's a good lesson as well, even for young people who are listening to this conversation, that they always want to try and pull out the miracle pass, but it's the basics done over and over again and try to eliminate all the errors. That's what separates the medium for the top players and the top teams.
You're spot on, Tommy. And that's exactly all that we did. The basics really, really well and executed them when they needed to be executed in a high pressure environment and at pace. So that only happens by practicing it time and time again. And we all see that last pass into a try or that cross-field kick in a match, in a test match. But we've done hundreds and, almost thousands of those in training.
So tell us, you started over in Munster in 07. You were there, through until, was it 11 years? 12 years?
12 years in total, 5 playing, and then I stayed and continued to live and work there.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Do you have any kind of standout memories, particularly on the pitch? Is there anything that really stands out?
Oh, I look back in my whole career, and of my top 5 memories, the almost the top 2 were in a Munster jersey. One of them playing against the All Blacks, performing a haka against the All Blacks at Thomond Park, welcoming my countrymen into Thomond Park, and the other was winning the European Cup. Both in the same almost 6 months. So if you can imagine, just leaving the All Blacks after a World Cup, going into competing in a European Cup and winning a European Cup, and then welcoming the All Blacks into Thomond Park. Within 6-8 months, my wife and I are looking at it. This place is unbelievable. How are we going to top this? So again, and my other great memories, obviously, are being selected for the All Blacks, playing my first game, all these types of things. But 2 of my best memories are in a red jersey.
Can you talk to us about that one, Doug? Though, because that was a special moment. I was at the game. We were playing against the All Blacks on the Saturday, but we travelled down as a squad together to that game in Munster versus the All Blacks. And I'll be honest with you, I've never been at a sporting occasion like it. Just that moment when yourself and Laifimi and Rua and Jeremy stepped out. Just honestly, even the hairs go up at the back of my neck now in that moment. Tell us from your end about it.
Look, pretty special, all right, for us as well as players. Firstly, because of the history, that Munster have with the All Blacks, and there probably wasn't a day that went by when I was living in Ireland, in particular in Cork and Limerick, where I wasn't reminded about the 1978 game where Munster tipped the All Blacks. So, that was, that set the scene leading into this match. The expectation obviously was pretty high. But beyond that, I think how we were going to approach it as a Munster team, and then I guess another layer of that was having 4 New Zealanders in the Munster team, and how we could approach this game, maybe welcome our fellow countrymen. So that was. As you know, Donncha, there was always a journey from Cork to Limerick or Limerick to Cork when we were training. So we'd always have an hour and a half or so, chatting about, the game gone by or the games coming up. And this was something we probably had, 8 or so months, thinking about understanding, that this might happen and what we might do. So, as a group, of Kiwis, the right thing to do is to welcome, and welcome the All Blacks to Munster. And I know, Munster has that as well. There's something different about, well, I don't want to just say Munster, but Ireland. There is a spirituality there that that would fit well with welcoming the All Blacks. And we went about, floating the idea of performing a haka against the All Blacks, a welcome haka. And initially, we tried to rope in, the entire team, where, as you can imagine, there's probably 50-50 around, yep, we'll do it, we'll bloody well do it, and we'll do it well. And the other half saying, geez, let's not piss them off anymore. Let's not disrespect them. So.
There's Frankie Sheen and Mick O'Driscoll again. Don't annoy them, Doug.
Yeah, just do the right thing. So as it was, we put it to the team, and the team decided that, look, you step forward, and we'll stand right behind you in support.
How important was that, Doug? How important was that? Because you're right, you did step forward, but there was no separation from the group. Of course, I remember it. It was an unbelievable respect for culture, but in the lads behind you, and you can see in all their faces, and even the crowd with the noise, they have your backs.
Yeah, and part of that was an education. I think globally, people are aware of the haka, but that meaning and the purpose behind why we were performing it it was explained to the group by us as players. This is why we do it. This is why the Kiwis or the All Blacks perform the haka, and this is the right thing that for us to do. So that there was an understanding of culture, which the guys really got.
It's amazing you say that, because I'll never forget. I would have always, wrongly, down to poor education or knowledge on my side, I would have always found it quite intimidating. But it wasn't until, I don't know, do you remember Nick Williams was leaving and we had a going away party up in the Marlborough Hotel, and yourself and the lads performed a haka for Nick and his family as they were heading off. And it dawned on me that it's the greatest respect you can give to somebody.
Yep, and that's exactly right. There's a purpose behind each haka for different reasons. And that moment was a special one. We were honoring Nick, and I think there are different ways in which you can receive a haka. And one of my most graphic memories was when the Irish team actually received the haka in Chicago with the figure eight, which they formed. Were you part of that, Tommy?
No, missed out on it, unfortunately.
He was dropped by them for Trimble. Yes.
But
injured.
You get out of it injured.
I only bring that up because you saw within that environment that the haka was being performed, but that group of Irish lads who formed the figure eight said, "Look, okay, that's your purpose there, but our purpose as fellow players here is, we have a purpose, we have a meaning, and we have someone watching over us as well. So you guys better watch out, and it sort of galvanized that group, and it was an unbelievable way to receive the haka.
Yeah, but I do have to ask you, because I want to talk to you about like some of the players and the relationships you had in Munster, and particularly Ronan O'Gara, because the two of you, whenever we played against you, it was like you were in each other's ear the whole time. You seemed to click really well on, and it seemed like off the pitch as well. What was that relationship like with Rog?
Fantastic, both on the pitch and off, as you've said, and I think that they go hand in hand. There has to be an understanding and an element of trust when you're playing alongside players to. For him to trust me to maybe not see what I see, but just execute, so I'd be in his ear. So look, right corner, just ping it right corner. And all he'd need to do is catch the ball and execute that kick. And I'd do the rest, So I think, there's an element of trust that's grown through, playing together, some of the successes. And look, I think he had an amazing skill set as well. He could read a game. He could put the ball wherever you needed to. But for me, one of his best skills was getting the best out of you. I think that demanding of your best each time you turn up. And I remember early on, he said to me, tongue in cheek a little bit, but Doug, over here, I don't do bad kicks. There's no such thing as a bad kick with me. And then under his breath, he'll say, just a bad chase. So in his way, he was telling you, get after it, and make it happen. So I think just in those cute little ways, really witty, and a guy that you wanted to play alongside and not let down.
I've been on the end of that as well. Do you keep in touch?
I was just about to say, don't show you over it, Tommy. That one against South Africa with the Lions, he still gives you a hard time over it.
Well, we won't go into that. That was a desperate kick and a bad chase by him. But do you still keep in touch with him? And even those little things like that, you're obviously not surprised that he's doing so well as a coach.
Yeah, no, look, he's no doubt he had a fantastic rugby brain. And I guess a big part of my success when I came to Munster was, his openness to accept some of the things that we were trying to introduce and allowing us to play a little bit more of an expansive game, which, again, took the pressure off our forward pack at the time, because we knew that, any team playing us, the forwards were going to lead. But if we could just give them something else to think about a bit wider, it would be a little bit easier for everybody in the team. So, he bought into that, and we had a little bit of success with it early on, and that just enabled us to grow our game. So that openness to change and to try new things, the innovation, I think, is something that you probably don't liken to a Rog, but behind it all, he was the most innovative of us all. He had lots of things going on in his head the whole time that we could always try.
He was also helped by the fact that you always made sure he got home, Doug.
Oh, look, it was we had some good times, all right, but it was
Enough said.
The best times we were on the pitch, and I think as we know, as sports people, sometimes we don't want those to end. We want to just let them go, talk about them, and enjoy each other's company and the achievements that we've made.
You enjoyed yourself off the pitch as well. Unfortunately, Donncha wasn't always there to look after you. Were you, Dunners? This is the man who's meant to be getting everybody home to bed at the right time.
He said
there was a combo, Doug, that I knew not to go near, and it involved you and Tomás O'Leary. If the two of you locked in, I was there. Do you know what? Good night, God bless. They're on it.
No, to be fair, you certainly did your fair share, Donncha. You couldn't take all 24 of us home, mate.
That's true. Doug, looking ahead to it, we have the All Blacks 15 against Munster tomorrow on Saturday. So really looking forward to that. But just obviously a bit of turmoil in Munster. The news of Graham Rowntree, myself and Tommy spoke about it earlier on. Just your own take on it.
Oh, look, I'm only hearing it as you're hearing it as well, so I'm probably a little bit removed from it. I guess timing of it is a surprise to me. But look, we sort of know these things happen, in professional sport. It'll be how the team respond now, I guess, under new leadership and the players in particular. How they step up and take ownership through this transition period will be really, really important.
What will the All Blacks, kind of this team that is going to face against this Munster team, what will they be trying to pull out of it, particularly whenever they've lost their head coach?
Well, this will be the first game for the All Blacks 15, so a lot of them are on the verge, and we saw a lot of them play against Japan. So you know what it's like when you're in those environments. You're not too worried about the opposition. You're just worried about your performance. So I know that a lot of them there have a lot to prove. They're trying to put their best foot forward for higher honours. And I think that would be their focus. They'll have an understanding of Munster and obviously maybe the 2008 game. And a couple of the guys I spoke to after that 2008 game, they mentioned to me this place is an ambush. Like when you turn up to an environment like Thomond Park on the night that it was. They just hadn't experienced anything like it before. But their lasting comment was, now we know. We won't let this happen again. So it will be interesting, however many years later, 14 years later, 16 years later now, that whether that message has passed on, because, there's a new group of players here. And I know there's one there in Alex Nankerville who's played on the other side in the NZ15 team, so he'll be aware of that mindset. But again, it's their first game together, so there will be an opportunity, and I would be as a Munster player, I'd be sort of galvanising the team around the fact that we've played together, we know what we're doing, we're coming against a team in their first game together. If we just stick to our systems, keep it tight, there'll be some opportunity.
When you look at the Rugby Championship, though, a lot of people are kind of maybe putting New Zealand and the All Blacks under a bit of pressure. Maybe it didn't go the way they liked. Where are the All Blacks at? Is this a big pressure tour for them to perform?
Absolutely, and it's not only pressure tour. Every game's a pressure game for them, especially down here. We squeaked past England a couple of times. We had a mixed bag since then, so there's a little bit of grace in a new coaching environment coming in, where they're trying to impose their game plan. But I think there's an expectation that that period is coming to a close now, where we're going to be tested in particular these three games coming up: England, Ireland, France. You couldn't ask for more difficult opposition in 3 consecutive weeks, so. that's the mindset of our players or the environment here is that, look, time's up now. You're going to be tested. So,
do New Zealand? What would they be thinking going into this Irish match? Is it very much focus on the game at hand? Obviously, it's England on Saturday tomorrow, but it's a 5 or 6 day turnaround to play against Ireland in the Aviva Stadium on a Friday night. It's going to be a whole different ball game in terms of the Friday night atmosphere in Dublin. And of course, built into that, the quarterfinal loss in the World Cup. I mean, Ireland are absolutely licking their lips for this one. How are the All Blacks going to be approaching it?
And on that, Doug, also there's a bit of bad blood in the media stuff with Johnny's book coming out, and that, it has that hit in New Zealand.
Yeah, it has to a certain degree, and I'll come to that. But I guess first thing, Tommy, is what I'm looking at is the guy that's made the schedule here. Obviously, he's not a New Zealander because go over to Twickenham first, and then only 6 days later go into the Aviva.
I think it's New Zealand took this game before. It's outside the window, Doug. So it's actually the Kiwis wanting the coin.
Well, I tell you, it's a big call. So I just know, having been in that Aviva and these types of matches, it'll be amazing atmosphere, and especially with what's going on with the quarterfinal, that Johnny and Rico incident. It's got a little bit of coverage here, not as much because I keep an eye on both sides really. I know it's been a bit of news up in Ireland, and I think my point on it is we all say silly things on the field and what have you, and probably my one of my deepest regrets was trying to get in the head of a young Dan Carter, sort of trash talking, trying to upset him a little bit. He missed a kick for touch, and I was just laying into him. So you'll never make it. You haven't got it. This, that, and the other. This was a sort of 19-year-old Dan Carter, and I like to think I was a big part of his motivation becoming the player he was. So it's I was like, it's just on the field you say things that you don't mean, and you sort of move on with it. I guess something like this is just blowing up a little bit. And look, there we are. It's here. It's not as big a news as it is up there at the moment.
Oh, it's going to be a cracker.
You weren't on your own, Doug. In 2005 on that Lions tour, we were there. They have a young 10, Dan Carter. Let's get after him. Forward on to 80 minutes later. Man of the match, Dan Carter. He could have driven the bus home. He was incredible.
Yeah, well, there you go. I think, you target players, and whatever it is, whether it's physically or verbally, on the pitch, some things just stay there. It's a shame that sort of thing just got out.
Obviously, the results matter, but to stretch the depth a little bit, to see a few more positions, is that what everyone's looking for in New Zealand?
Yeah, I think so. That's it's been a big advantage for us for a long time in that, we were never too reliant on one or two individuals. We had a series of players underneath that could step in, and I think I go back to the example of it was Andrew Murdens. What are we going to do without him? And then Carlos Spencer turns up. What are we going to do without Carlos? And Dan turns up. What are we going to do without Dan? Bowden Barrett turns up. So I think, but that doesn't just happen in that.
I'll stop rubbing it in.
But it doesn't just happen, is what I'm trying to say, is that, those players that I mentioned had time in the jersey underneath, other players, and then sort of slowly transitioned. So you're building that really strong base of All Black players, both in the All Blacks, but also this All Black 15 will be crucial for this tour.
Absolutely. Well, listen, it's going to be a cracker match this weekend, next weekend as well. I want to just ask you, do you have a message for the Munster supporters? Obviously, they're going through a bit of sad times at the minute. Donncha's been crying into his pillow for the last few days. Anything about a memory or anything you'd like to say to the Munster faithful who you remain deep in their hearts?
Look, it's probably one of the teams that I've been involved with where that support actually counts. It does matter where, typically prior to coming to Munster, my mindset was, didn't matter what field you went on to, it's all the same 4 white lines, all the rest of it. Once you cross that, it's 15 against 15. But when I turned up at Thomond Park, it really hit home that, wow, this is that 16th man and woman that can make a difference. It sort of lifts you up, engages the players, players running on, feel that energy. It is really felt and it's welcomed, and they're a big part of the success of Munster today. And to that brave and faithful, as the saying goes, I think keep the faith. I'd be hopeful, and I'm sure that Munster will turn a corner.
Doug, I'm going to go for a triple thank you. Thank you on behalf of myself and Tommy for joining us on the Offload. Thanks from everyone in the rugby community for what you did on the pitch. You changed the game. You lit it up. It was a joy watching you. But a serious thank you from anyone that was lucky enough to call you a teammate. What a brother on the pitch, but an even better man. And every environment you went into, you brought the guys along with you. And we are so, so thankful. I know if they were in black or red or in Auckland, whatever they were, if they had Doug Howlett in their corner as a teammate, he made the pitch smaller. And just want to say thank you so much.
Well, that's touching, Donners. I really appreciate it, guys. And fantastic seeing you both smiling faces again.
Brilliant.
We're sorry that he got you out of bed an hour early, Doug, but that's just
exactly.
Donncha. That's what he does.
We'll leave you go back to bed, Doug.
Appreciate it, guys.